Hello.
Where are you?
I am good. How are you?
I said, where are you?
Oh, where am I? Yes. Well, we're redoing our guest room slash workout room. And so I'm going to be painting the wall tomorrow.
Oh,
And
you look like you're trying to be in a unidentified location. Like, okay, I can't tell you where I am.
no, I'm going to paint the walls gray tomorrow and then put my pretty backdrop up behind.
Okay,
So
gotcha. Okay, awesome.
rearrange the furniture this morning.
Perfect. All right, let me make sure we're recording. Sharing. You sent me some, so tell me where you're at. You sent me some homework that just came through. So tell me
Yes.
where you think you're at.
Where am I is literally the question of the call today. um, so I worked hard on trying to still get my brain just wrapped around this Russian doll. Like that is like the best image in the world. I was explaining it to my husband. He's like, that is perfect. And I'm like, yes, but now what do I do with it? Like I keep feeling like I've taken on too much. Like I almost wrote you this really long email on Saturday and then I was like, take a breath. Where I was just ready to be like, what am I doing? Can we just pick one and go with it for now? Like I feel like it was just so overwhelming and I'm feeling this crunch time but I kind of got over myself with that. And so what I sent you was what you call block one or phase one or something, that document. I just retitled it to creating content.
Okay.
And I decided to take some time on this because I was just really struggling with the avatar and the pillars. And I felt like I was getting way stuck in the weeds and I needed to just take like a step back. So I'm like, progress, not perfection. And I felt like, okay, well, let me see going through, if I were going to try to create content, what would I even do with it right now? Because that sometimes will really help my brain start to understand, okay, this is what I do. This is what I can provide. It starts to help clear things up for me a little bit.
Sure.
And which it did do, which was really helpful. And then I could kind of see like, where are my big gaps? Where do I need? So I am obsessed with this document. I have been trying to figure out how to create like a content calendar or even figure out like what to do for the week. And kind of, I looked at what Karen had, created for LinkedIn, but it was more of like a percentage of whether you do a promotional thing or you do a quote or you do a personal thing or whatnot. But I didn't understand, like, how do you figure out like what content you have and how to organize it? This form, amazing, Chris. Like seriously.
Oh, okay. I
amazing.
still think I was going to stop you right there because I would tell you that when we find out who you're talking to,
Yeah.
what happens is I'm telling you, so another client of mine, she was struggling with this and I listened to, she happened to be on a podcast and she has a very boring topic. I think I spoke to you about that, accounting and federal
Yeah.
funding and stuff. So I listened to her podcast and I said, okay, now I looked at it and I thought this is crazy. And I highlighted a couple of things. I said, right here, you have an article, 10 days worth of posts. And here's what I want you to do and repurpose this for Monday. So once we know who you're talking to, I promise you that sometimes you can do a 2-minute video and get 5, like that's a whole nother thing I can teach you is how to repurpose content. Yeah. And so once we know who you're saying to what, I assure you content creation is the least of your worries.
Right. And this form was just so easy. It helped me kind of understand. So what I'm struggling with is when we look at this Russian doll and I'm creating this avatar and I sit down and I'm like, what would I start writing if I was going to kind of flip the script a little bit and start going, start actually creating something? And I'm like, that's where I get really confused. That's what creates the confusion, obviously, because my message is so confused, right? So doing this, even though it's kind of reverse of what you're telling me to do and what you would suggest that I do in your marketing branding mind, it clicked and made some sense in my brain, if that makes any sense. So
it's the same thing, only a different door.
Exactly. And I needed a different door because I was getting really stuck in this image and this analogy and just I hit such a block. So I needed to figure out, okay, well, what am I trying to say and what do I provide and what are my solutions? And when I looked at everything you kind of had going on in Shadow Class Academy, I saw this form and I was like, okay, let me just see, what would I even start talking? Like, what topics do I even have? What gets me excited? Because I told you I had like a freak out moment when I was getting ready to be like, I'm either done with personal coaching or done with workshops. Like, I need to just focus on one. And so I took a step back, breathed, and said, well, let me just work through what I have to offer and what are my strengths and what are my benefits. So I just felt like this was really helpful honing in. Okay, so if I have all of this and communicating to my avatar, so starting to feel it's my confidence, I think, is what I needed this form for.
Okay, sure. I don't think you strike me somebody that lacks a lot of confidence, but I'll take your word for it. All right.
Confident in this next step, because I'm still falling back. If you look at any of my Instagram stuff, I'm still going back to just the woman, because that's where I feel more confident in. Going into the workshops, I realized this weekend I have a huge fear of that. It's a much
And
bigger
why do you think
risk
that
in
is?
my
Because
brain.
you've done a lot of workshops.
I know. I think it's even when I started to do this first workshop, you know what it really is it's the stupid 3 negative comments that I just need to mature, get my big girl pants on and let go of. But they haunt me right now. And
And what
it
were the
feels like
negative contents? What were the negative comments? And how many? 3 out of what?
60.
Okay.
I know. I know.
Okay,
It's
so
ridiculous.
do you want a stern talking to, or do you want me to save that to later?
Do I want you what?
Do you want a stern talking to, or do you want me to save that to later?
I do enough stern talking to myself. I know it's fucking ridiculous. And
You
it's
just
the perfection.
cannot. If you are any good at what you do, I'll tell you, all the big guys out there will say this. If you are any good at what you do, then 100% of people cannot be agreeing with you. If 100% of people are agreeing with you, then you're not giving out valuable content. You're giving out very wishy-washy, like, oh, we all care about the environment, right? You know, shouldn't we all be nice to each other, right? Like, there's no depth to it. So you cannot please 100% of the people 100% of the time, but if you can, then your content is crap.
Yep. I love that. Thank you for reminding me of that. Because I am going to offend people, and that's okay. And so it's just getting over myself a little bit. And I had lower scores than I've ever had in my career. And so it's just letting go. I'm not like, that's just where some of the fear is coming from, is the, what if I'm not good enough to really do this on my own? Yes, I've done this for 10 years. You know what I mean? So
let me help you. If you don't mind, I'd like to break that down for you so that it doesn't affect you in the future. Is that okay?
Okay. Absolutely.
There is no difference between your skill set. You're still Jackie and you have all that experience. So doing this on your own or somebody else paying you to do this, there's no difference in the world, except for when you're starting this journey, you've got all this experience behind you. When you started and somebody else was paying you, you had no experience behind you. So you're the best version that you could ever be. And it doesn't matter who's paying you. That does not impact your skill set. So if you're paying me or my other clients pay me, I still have the same skill set. I'm either good or I'm crap. But it doesn't matter where the source of income comes from. So you got to get that out of your head. Because, and also I would challenge you, which is very interesting to me because I have the same issue. And I will tell you, my business has changed a lot in the last 6 months. And I always had a good reason not to be out there as much on social media. I have all really, really good reasons. But the biggest thing is I did an interview in my podcast with I couldn't even believe he said he'd be on my show, but I ingratiated myself with him over the years, giving him good testimonials. Good lesson for you. So I had done some really amazing testimonials. So then I reached out and said, look, hey, I'm just saying, if you want to be on the show, we'd love to have you. So he's like a top guy in marketing. And when I put my cover out on Facebook in this marketing group for the podcast, they ripped it to shreds the first day. Now they were right. I need to make some changes, but I still stand behind the fact that some of those things could have been said nicer. But anyhow. And I said that to him on the interview. I said, now your business is all about the now. And I admitted, I said, for me, it's really hard to put my work out there. And I'd rather, and he says, yeah, you want to make it perfect before you get out. And I said, no, I want to show up prepared. And he said, that's just a prettier way of saying perfect. And he said, Chris, don't you want to, and I said, they were brutal. And I said, the old me would have just taken it down, but I stuck it out and I'd heard all their feedback and I made changes and they were right. Again, they were very harsh, but they were right. And he said, Chris, wouldn't you rather find out in 3 hours that something isn't working so you can fix it and get it out to your audience rather than 3 weeks? And don't you want to hear the words clearly rather than interpreting what they're saying? Like, oh, they're saying this nice. Do they mean that? He said, what a waste of time and money. You need that feedback. But so even if you went out and think about comedians, they'll tell you that they died on stage for years. And then it's like, okay, I got in 4 minutes before they booed me. So now I'm up to 4 minutes. Now I got to get up to 5 minutes. So if you are going to be focusing on the 3 out of the 60, then I say this with all the perfection in the world, you might as well just shut it down now, because if you're doing your job, your ratios are going to be different, and you just can't live like that, right? But you would be the exception to planet Earth. So if everybody likes you, you're doing something wrong. And I have another client, and she is switching from what she's been using Facebook really kind of socially, and then she puts pictures up. She's like you, like a freaking hair commercial. It's got gorgeous freaking hair, and her kid is like, looks like a poster child for a toothpaste commercial. So she puts all these pictures up, and then people like it. And now she said, well, I really want to start dealing with my business, but I got like 65 likes in that picture of me and my daughter at Valentine's Day or whatever. What if I don't get as many likes? And I said, this isn't high school. What do you have to sell? Even if these people all like you because you're beautiful, your child's beautiful, you're both wonderful, you're both kind, you can't sell them that. You can't sell that to them. They can't be pretty and like you. If you want to have a business, you're going to lose half of them because you have to sell them something. And you can't sell your pretty hair. You can, but once, right? So I say right now, you've got vanity metrics. It's like you're in high school. You want everyone to like you. Do you want half those people to pay you, or do you want a whole bunch of people to like you? Right?
Totally.
So that's what I would tell you is you're in the business of making business, and you've never been more prepared. You've got this personal experience behind you, and you've got, like, at least from what I understand, at least 10 years of training behind you. So you are far a superior product than you were when you started with them, and you had the confidence and you started with them.
Yeah.
So why would you not be good enough to go out on your own?
Exactly.
The math just doesn't work. I mean, your math makes no sense.
Oh, I totally know that, which is why I took a breath, put my big girl pants on, and was like, you're being ridiculous. And then started at least like this creating content phase 1, just diving into it. And I hope that you don't feel like it was a waste of time. But to me, it just really was like getting my brain around what content do I actually have to figure out what I can put into my pillars. Like I just had to go about it a little bit different way and really like, okay, so here's what your workshop has, here's what my coaching program has, here's what I provide. And so I found it really helpful to go through the problems, the solutions, and the benefits I provide, because I started doing what do I do again. And I was like, nope, that's not the benefit. So like flipping how I just communicate. It's just a really good practice in how I communicate things, right?
And I don't think anything is a waste of time. We give you multiple options, and you'll find multiple ways to do the same or different thing. And that's what it's there for. So there's no such a thing as waste time. All I would say to you is I would save my big girl pants for something where you need them. You didn't even need them for this. That's all I'm saying. That you're giving it energy and you keep bringing it forward. And if you think 3 out of 60 people did not, maybe they don't need what you have to offer. You can't be the answer.
Or they really need it and they're closed off.
Or they really need it. But either way,
right.
You've been very kind and generous with your words about my skill set in marketing. But I assure you, if you put me in a room with 60 people, I would not be a good fit. And it took me a lot of years to find my fit, because I would try to tone it down. I would try to talk differently, because my directness, then I would go over here and I'd be like putting it softly. And then I'd get people like you that say, Chris, I don't need the compliments. I'm here for content. Stop wasting your breath, softening things. So then I would go back to that. And then I would be trying to speak like as if I was a dog to dogs and then to cats. And this fit better for me anyhow. And now the people who were good fits for me, I'm irritating, because they're like, listen, I just love when you get to the point. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, because I got a whole group of people here that don't like it. Well, then don't work with them, because they're not my people. Right.
Right.
And
exactly. And that's what this was helping me figure out, was who are my people, right? Because that's all this is about. We're trying to figure out exactly who are my people. So when I was going through like, what do I do? And like, I even just had like this image in my head when I was going through all of this about like giveaways and different collaborations and things, because it's been so heavy in the women that I'm trying to just figure out, which is still the women is still part of it. And I'm starting to finally like, okay, figure out this Russian down, like how it's starting to fit together better. Because right now they're all just rolling around on the floor and I can't get them together. That's my new analogy. I'm like, all these little heads are rolling around, and I'm like, how do I get?
Yes. Okay. So.
Okay, hold on. Your mic blew. Talk again.
Yes.
You sound like you're underwater. It made a really loud noise, and now it sounds like you're underwater.
I coughed.
Hold on a second.
Oh, now you're back.
Is that better?
Yeah, I don't know what happens. Sometimes if you laugh, oh, it's gone again. Sometimes if you laugh or make a noise, there's this loud popping sound, and then it's all distorted. I don't know if you hear it back in the videos, but
I can't hear anything.
Oh, I can see why the lady with the podcast, it really it gets distorted like you're underwater.
Okay. So
which is not a big deal for me, but what I would say to you is absolutely you need a headset. But anyhow, so why don't you walk me through this then?
Okay. So I did the 10 problems, and I'm looking at, and I probably could go through it today and be like, oh, well, I can change a bunch of these too, but just, going through the brainstorming content ideas. So the 10 problems was they never have time for patients and some of their limiting beliefs. It's the electronic health record, or there's too many patients. Another thing and I was kind of thinking, like, you were telling me, like, what are challenging questions, or what did people bring up during the thing? And so, like, what were my participants complaining about? And then, like, number one thing was patients Googling everything and coming in like they know more than they do and not trusting them, right? So that's why I put patients Googling everything, lack of trust in providers, lack of compliance to treatment plans. I don't even have in here, I have provider burnout, but I don't even have in here, like, their lack of sleep, their, blood pressure, like all the medical, physical things that happen to them because of all of their stress too, which I have statistics on. So that could actually go in there for some more problems. Lack of resources for patients, which we had kind of talked about already. So I need to provide a burnout. I can put in a bunch of the physical problems too. So just trying to kind of get my brain around what are the problems. And I didn't go as deep into this as now I can see after some of the work I did this morning, like, oh, there's a lot more problems that I'm just not even bringing to the surface yet.
Okay.
So then the next section, unless you want to stop.
No, go ahead. You walk me.
More down there. So patients need, sorry, I can't see it now, but.
Oh, you should be able to double click on it. Hold on. You should be able to.
You scroll down a little bit.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah.
More?
Oh, so there I went into more detail then. Oh, those are my solutions. So you scroll down to my solutions. So here, I'll look on my form. So, so patients need more emotional support than they can provide. They never take time to care for themselves. They can't discuss that. Patients don't know how they feel, if they need help. So those are kind of the different problems. And then going through each of those problems and figuring out, what do I do? This probably was one of the most helpful things, and took me quite a long time just figuring out, like, okay, so if these are the problems, do I need to change some things in my workshop? So it was actually like, this is what I should have done before I created my workshop. I was like, maybe I should have a much clearer understanding of what their problems are and what my solutions are, so I make sure that it's part of my workshop and coaching. So this was really helpful
but
too.
This is why this is here, is because we've all done that. Oh no, I know. Let me jump up, and I did a whole friggin' thing, and then I find out, oh, I just jumped up and decided what I thought you needed, right?
Right. Yeah. So taking kind of some feedback from the courses, from the coaching, and figuring out, what do I do? So, how do I help them with those situations? So that's really what this next part was. I could definitely get in deeper too. But it was helping me just figure out, okay, so this is what I provide. So thinking of like different pillars, and okay, so this is helpful with that. And then, going, wow, yeah, see, I had a lot of solutions underneath the problem. So that made me feel like, okay, oh yeah, here we go. Patients don't even know how they feel. And this could be providers too. So I could actually change that to providers. They don't even understand sometimes what stress is showing up at, even though we should, right? We're medical, but we don't pay attention to that. We don't pay attention to ourselves.
You don't operate on yourself.
Exactly. And then the 10 stories. So that was actually to what have I done? What have my clients done? What were some of the feedback from some of the people who actually wrote down things in their evaluations? So I was like, oh, okay, I actually have a lot more than just myself. And that made me feel a lot better too. Like, and I would have a lot for my clients too. I just kind of stopped at one point. And then the benefits is what I was trying to really focus on, because I think that's going to be huge in understanding, right? My messaging is, what are the benefits I provide? Who is going to look at what I do and be like, that is what I need, right?
I think also I would add that often the people that are most educated in something is because you know it, you think you shouldn't feel it, right? So let's say you're a grief counselor and you're dealing with loss and you now have had your own loss. Like you go, oh, I know this stage is this. And because you understand it intellectually, you somehow think then because you should be aware of it, that it minimizes the experience or that you don't have to go into it as deep. So I also think that that's a detriment to your industry, is when you know these things are part of the process, then you devalue them because you think you can overcome them because you're aware of them. Does that make sense?
That would have been me to a T. You just nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
and
a
then
nurse.
you're ashamed. Then you have bigger reaction because you think, well, I should know better. I know that grief looks like this and done like that. So why am I fighting with my husband and the pizza guy? I should know better. So then you get even more mad at yourself because you can see the signs, but you know them. So I think it's worse than not knowing.
That is so incredibly true.
Yeah.
And especially for who I'm working with. So that kind of came out from one of my friends who was listening to my podcast. She was like, well, you talk about like, if you're feeling despair, you're feeling angry, you're feeling frustrated, like what if they don't even know what they feel? And I was like, well, I'm like, they may not be my ideal client if they're like completely that just like detached. Like I need somebody who's ready to work. Like I can't spend, anyway, but anyhow. So, but I love what you're saying, because that's exactly who I was. I was the nurse who knew better. And I was working through it on my own. So I thought, right, until my work came crashing down. And even my husband didn't recognize it. So that is like huge, right? We should know. And we did know, but we didn't necessarily know that we needed help or wanted to get help.
That could be the title of a great blog, The Fertility Nurse That Knew Better.
Writing that one down. Oh, you're so good. Can I just like,
you know what? I just had to, sorry, hold on. I have these visions like a psychic here. If you forgive me, I just have another idea. Like, you know how you have those little cartoons where people are sketching stuff?
Yeah.
And they're telling a story. I just see this, like you could do a little, and this is not right now, but this is a vision I have for you. You could have like an intro on your page or something where we have a little sketch thing, and you've got, you know, the fertility nurse that knew better. And then you've got a little sketch of the little nurse putting on her hat, cartoon character going to work. And then she goes to work, and then you show her dealing with people, but then you show like a thought bubble above her head because she's sad, but she knows why she's sad, because she's struggling with infertility. And so then you could say, well, then she goes and helps another client, and then she says all the right things to them, but then she's sad again. And it's trying to show the journey of she's going off and functioning all these levels, but yet because she's functioning, that's a bigger problem than not functioning. And then you can just see her at the end of the day, and maybe the cartoon turns blue or something. And you could say the fertility nurse that knew better. Because she knew better, she was able to help everybody else, but she was never able to help herself. Like that's such a to your audience.
Yeah,
like you could tell this almost like in a child's fable, really.
Yeah.
Right. If you simplify it and minimize it and tell it in a very simple way and just show it really without, because then we don't want all the medical stuff in it, but it could be the fertility nurse that knew better. You could be building that as part of your avatar. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, like I said, I got goosebumps from that. So
okay.
Yeah, I wasn't the fertility nurse, but that is like, yeah.
You're just splitting hairs though, but the rest of the world, you're still in the industry. So the fertility nurse may not be the right word for you, but for the rest of us, it's the same thing. So you just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah, right. I know I get technical. You're right.
Yeah. Because you're not selling a nursing course. So we don't care if it's a RN or this N or whatever. We don't even know the difference, right? And you want to simplify the story. And sad isn't even like, right, oh, well, she's sad, or she clinically depressed, or she PSTD, whatever. So we can't get caught down on the words. We want to tell a fable that all we're trying to do is reach an emotion, not write a thesis.
Yes. I'll highlight that part in the notes.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be helpful if we kind of dove into the benefits section, because I think this is what's going to drive. Oh, did it cut out again?
No, where is it?
Oh, so it's on what page? If you, let me see where
Then if
you're
it's
at,
here,
'cause I'm looking on mine.
here.
Right there you go. Yep. Yep. So I thought that might be helpful just to dive into that a little bit. Because this is going to be my messaging, is what are they feeling? And then what should they get if they work for me? Am I correct in thinking that?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah,
No?
no, you can feel whatever you want. I can't tell you how your your feelings are right or wrong.
No, but I mean, if that's the right step for really honing in my messaging, which is all we've been working on, right? My
Right.
messaging and my avatar.
Yeah. Increase in sleep energy, increase in compliance with treatment plans by patients, increase in emotional awareness, understand how to embrace and master which tools to use, empowered to speak up for self and ask for help, changing limiting beliefs from the past. So just for simplicity's sake, I might put these into two groups because we've got them talking about the patients, how they're providing for the patients, and then themselves. So I might just have an A and B just to keep it clear, to make sure it's
Okay.
even balanced and stuff.
And can you repeat what you mean by that?
Well, up here
Like how
you
I
go,
hear.
pardon
Okay.
me?
Go ahead.
Up here, like increasing confidence with effective communication skills with various interaction. Hold on. Oh, I misunderstood the way I read it. I thought at one point you were talking about them as a care provider in their job, but you're not. You're just talking about their needs, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Numerous tools to create a reduction of stress during. Okay, so just this doesn't matter, and I'm picking on little things, but I want you to start thinking like this because I want these things to have more grip. So numerous tools to create a reduction of stress during most difficult times. So that's pretty heavy worded. I'm glad it's there and you've done a great job. So the next step is to just show you messaging a little tighter. So I might say effective tools to immediately reduction of stress during difficult times. So just watch the language because it's too general.
Yep.
And I'm not worried about it being general because we can always pretty it up later. I'm worried about your thought process. So when I pick on your sentences, it's so it can empower your strength of authority, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
Increase in confidence with effective communication skills with various different interactions. So that's a really wordy sentence.
I'm
They have
super
to,
worried.
yeah, they have to be able to read it with their thumb, right? I'm scrolling.
Right. I know you keep saying that, and I pretty much redo a sentence about 10 times, and this was the first time I've done them. So I didn't do any editing. I just wanted to get it all out there, but I'm really wordy. Like whenever I do a blog in WordPress, it's always like I have to like cut out like half my words and my passive statements.
But, and why I'm picking on you now is because this is about messaging, not about editing. So what I'm saying is we need you to start, like I just gave you a story in an industry that I'm not a part of. And you said I gave you goosebumps because I simplified it and I drove the emotion home. So the messaging isn't about tweaking your language or an essay. It's about the messaging for you to your client base, to your ideal client. So right now, this is still very academic, and why that concerns me is you're still problem solving like an academic person, and I need you to create a relationship with your ideal client versus teaching them academia. Does that make sense?
It does. It's clearly something I struggle with, which is also why I hired you.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
it's
if you could do it all,
something
it would be
that
here, right?
yes, it's clearly, this is probably my most difficult challenge is learning how to speak in a way that connects, which is why I know that what I do is extremely powerful. I know I'm not communicating in a way that conveys any of that to connect with people, or else I would have one-on-one clients coming to me by now. I mean, so I know that is an issue.
So what I might do, what might be a good exercise for you, I learned a lot from this, is I would start recording myself in videos and just talking. And sometimes you'll hear yourself talking and you sound so much better than when you're writing, because we all talk different than we write. When we write, we present. When we talk, we are one-on-one, right? So what I do, and I gave this to another client last week, and I said, okay, I just want you to talk, record it for 2 minutes and put it in Temi. And then you've got this transcript. And then she went through and picked all these words that she wouldn't have written. I was like, oh, that sounded good. Oh, that sounded good. And we made blogs out of it. So I think you're still in medical mode. I think it's great if you sort this stuff down and it works for you. Not a problem. It's a process. Everything's a process. We're unpacking a lot of stuff, right? But it's hard to hear it's hard for me to hear where you're really going with this because it's so academic.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So not emotional.
And it's not that I'm looking for it to be emotional. Like I understand you're going to be in a room full of academic people and you're doing presentations. So I'm not looking for you. I was the first to tell you, I don't want you to be a victim, but there is academic words, real words, and emotional words. So I want you more in the real words with a few sprinkled spices of emotional words in, like, you know, like I gave you the example, the fable with the nurse. But over here, this could be instructions to writing surgery steps, how to operate on a patient if I didn't read it carefully. And that's not a problem, because you might say, well, I just talk to that, I just write like that. That's fine. But I need to chip away at the coal to get to the diamond. Handing me the coal and say, well, the diamond's in there. Okay, I have to find it myself. That won't work. You have to show me the peak of the diamond so that I'm interested. So this is a whole new skill set for you. So I have to get you to see it before I can pull it out. Because right now we're still very much in academia, which I have a problem with. I deal with a lot of people like you, and this is one of the things I work well with, because I deal with smart people that are very educated, and they come to me and then it's like, oh, this is gorgeous. You could write a beautiful textbook about this, but this isn't like we need you to know what you want to say. So it's not about marketing. It's about, you're not connected to yourself. We can't connect it to somebody else. Does that make sense?
I'm not connected to myself.
You're still speaking in very academic terms. So when I say you're not connected to yourself, I mean, like, you probably could not have told me the story about the sad fertility nurse or whatever the story was I just gave a minute ago. And yet I was able to do it and create emotion. It was just way too boiled down for you. And you're still very much in your head for your messaging, and you're not down here. So you're not connecting, you're thinking. And when I get you, and I'm not talking about being sad and needy and going back to the dark place where you had loss and stuff, but if I could get you to talk about the real problem, the real feelings, then I can help you more with your messaging. But right now you're up here. So it's kind of like the example I often give, because everyone can relate. Let's say a fitness instructor. So I can say, I help you with a fitness plan so that you can sleep better at night, you can be more effective in the workplace, you can leverage your time with your family and have increased vitality that will improve all aspects of your life. Or I could say, I help you feel really good when you put on a pair of jeans. And then when somebody invites you to an event, the first thing you don't think about is, oh my gosh, I have to go, I'm gonna have to put on clothes. I help you look at your partner affectionately, knowing that you can deliver the goods because you're not going to feel fat when they reach for your body.
Got it.
Right? So,
yeah.
And you're over here still. And
yeah, very much so. I'm like, the first one I actually thought this sounded pretty good. And then you did the next one.
Like,
and I was like, oh.
I don't see the problem.
I know. I was like, I would sign up for that. And then we did the next one. I was like, oh, shit. Nope.
Yes.
That one hits you and with every ounce of your being, where you're like, yeah. Okay.
And I was right over here. Why would you not want vitality? Why would you not want improved sleep? That's great. But that is presenting information. This is talking to someone.
Yeah.
Now, do you see what I'm trying to say?
Oh, totally. Because I'm like, the first one was still really good, but like, oh, I get it. That was a really good example of how my brain works too. Because I'm like, oh, the first one was good. And then you did the next one and I'm like, oh, yeah, let me think of everything I've signed up for and what have they said to me. How about I just do that for the next week?
You know, even like, I didn't talk about anything. So when your partner reaches through your body, you're not feeling embarrassed because you're overweight. Like, that's like, oh, okay, I got to lose weight right now. This is it. Oh my God, they're in my head. yeah, all I think of is so-and-so's birthday Saturday and I'm going to be fat and my clothes are tight. It's horrible, right? So this one had all
So
the
the
offerings.
reduction of stress, if we did this with my first one, just for like shits and giggles, but reduction of stress has nothing to do with stress really. It's what is stress showing up within their life. So you're not blowing up at your patient or your peer or your child or something like that, right? So, because what does stress manifest as? Right? So I'm able to get a good night's sleep. I'm able to communicate more or talk, not communicate, talk. Okay, so I need to just talk. This is how I talk. I'm a major nerd is also the problem. But when I talk, like I'm thinking when I just talk to my friend Kristen, how do I talk? And so I just need to keep acting like I'm talking to her about stuff because like when people ask me, I just say, oh, well, this is what I do. So I need to I like that practicing video. So I'm just going to pretend I'm talking to Kristen and talking about it. I think that will be good for each of these like benefits, just as a good activity, right? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah. And what I would say to you is, if somebody that you don't know asks you what you do, explain it. Or the questions you most often get about what you do, explain
I don't know how to explain it yet is the problem.
Well, you'll get better at it. And the thing is, if you do videos, you could just do a 2-minute video, put it in Temi. And when you see the words, then you'll go, oh, like you'll start to see it differently. Like, oh, no wonder I wasn't getting it. And even for me, this is a problem with being educated. When I wrote my book, she kept going through and taking things where I'd say, I cannot. And she'd say, it has to be, I can't. Like you have to have it flow. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, what the hell? I went to university and college. Now she's like saying I speak too proper and I'm not a proper speaker. So I should not have been a problem. But if you keep doing videos and then putting them in Temi, I think you'll see the text. I think you'll hear the videos. Even if you don't want to do videos, do audio, play them back. Ask yourself 10 questions. Like if somebody said to you, I'd like to work with you, what kind of questions would they ask? What kind of questions do you get all the time? What kind of questions did you have for people in your industry? When you called the doctor, what did you want to know? Why did you pick one place over another? What did your friends say about that place that you all went to that worked out for you? I want to hear the real conversations. Call up fertility clinics and ask them, ones that are not local about what they do. And they'll probably do a poor job of explaining it. So you'll know what not to say. So I think you need to get like a reporter doing some grassroots reporting and figure out the language you don't want to speak.
Pretty much everything on this paper.
I mean, it's all there. It's all factual, but facts don't even sell a car. What do you know about your car? Well, I like that it had a seat warmer. I like that it's blue and I like it's got room for stow and go. You don't know anything about, you probably don't know if you got regular brakes or disc brakes. You don't know anything about the engine. Oh, I know it's good on gas, but you don't know the real stuff.
Right.
You didn't even buy a car, a machine. You didn't buy that on facts.
Yep. Okay. I got it. Yeah. Okay. This will be good. This is making me laugh a little bit just because it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. When I did my blogs, and I only wrote a few of them, but when I did them, I did write more like I was talking instead of, because you're right, when you're doing blog, I thought I was going to be a blogger. Like that's what they talk so much about. Make it very conversational, make it very like, use improper, not grammar, but like slang words and things like that. So, so I know that I have it in me.
Of course you do. I'm not worried. But see, here's another thing. Okay, so you're thinking again. Stop thinking. So now you're telling me that you can, so you're saying, listen, Chris, I know I'm talking academic, but I'm telling you, I know I can apply myself and I can do this emotion stuff. I'll tell you, this is a funny story. Here's an example. One of my roadblocks, we all have them, is I really struggled with social media for a long time. I didn't, and also, I guess I would say that I was a little bit of a private person. So when I started my business, John said to me, oh my God, babe, I think the biggest problem with you is you work too hard. If it was somebody else, I'd say, no, that's not a good idea because by Friday, you won't be working. He said, my problem with that is you work too hard. And the second thing is you're a very private person. And he said, in order for you to have a business, do you know people have to know your business? Because I would always say, well, it's not their business. They don't need to know that. So he'd say, if you're going to have a business, people need to know your business. I'm like, no, I can do this. So then when I would go on social media, it was still very presented. It was still very, okay, this is what we're working on and blah, 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 blah. So like the example I gave you last week, even when I wrote my book, I knew better as a marketer that I should have it out there. Here's the cover, here's this, here's that, here's what we're working on, and keep people part of the journey. So when the book comes out, they've all been nurtured. I did not do that because I wanted to say, this book isn't something I'm going to do. This book is something I did. My ego is all about, I never mind what I said. Here's what I did, right? Because people say stuff and they don't do it. Bad marketing plan. Even though I freaking know it, I still did it that way. So now I'm way out there more on social media. And the biggest thing I had to learn is to talk to people instead of presenting to them. Because I would be presenting as a professional. I wear my little professional clothes, not clothes, whatever I'm wearing today and I'm comfortable in. I would present, this is a thing we're working on. Because I was used to presenting my clients out there. So I had to learn how to talk. And talking to people and screwing up videos and making people laugh and being silly, because I am a more fun person and telling funny stories, it's really resonated online. But what I would do in working with my business is when you worked with me at first, I was very proper and professional. I wanted you to know I was really good at what I did. And then as we moved on, people are like, oh, Chris, you're so much fun to work with. You always make me laugh. But I was like something I saved for date 5. So I lost a lot of people in the funnel because they didn't get to that person. And now I put that person up here. So I had to really, really learn how to be out there. And even now I was just speaking to someone with the launch. I have to say things like, oh my gosh, I've got something amazing for you. Click the link below. Well, I would never say that. I've got something amazing for you. What's amazing? If I say I've got something amazing, I expect it to be like, here's $5,000 in a chocolate cake. Like, I'm not good at going, yeah, it's awesome. I'd be like, well, I worked hard at it, but that's not marketing. So we all have stuff we have to overcome. And the point of this long story is one time I went to John and I said to him, somebody made a comment that I'm very guarded with information. And he said, well, you are. And I said, well, it's none of their business what they need to know about me. It was a business thing. We were talking business. Why do they need to know about my personal life? That's not business. And he goes, because you're a person with relationships. And I said, well, whatever. And he looked at me, he said, babe, if you think you can take a night course on how to be warmer, I don't think it's going to work. He goes, you can't think your way out of this. You're either doing it or not. Right. And he goes, stop thinking how you can be warmer. This is not a thinking game. You need to open up and drop your guard. So that's exactly what you're doing. Now you're telling me how I know I can do this, Chris. Here's my strategy. Here's how I'm going to think my way through it. I'm going to think my way through it so that I feel really good. Does that make sense?
Yes, and it's pretty much been my entire life. So I have 2 personas. Funny thing. So I have Jack Hay, who comes out with my friends and with my team, and then I had Jackie at work, and then for the really professional, I had Jacqueline. So even in my corporate America job, very few people knew how weird and goofy and silly I was, even at work. Like I was always just extremely professional because I was such a young director and I felt I had so much to prove. And I went from being a bedside nurse to director and I just had this whole story in my head. So I had to be super professional. And when people get to know me, they're like, you're actually pretty funny. Like we didn't even know that about you. So when I am insecure, I show up overcompensating with professionally and not emotional. So I have lots of notes to myself about show my funny side, show Jack Hay, just talk, don't present. And those are all of my guards, which are definitely up, which is feeling.
And I have them too. So the fact that I'm lecturing you, really, it's like we're on a mountain and all I am is I've got my pitch in the mountain and I've got a rope down to you. You're only like 5 feet beneath me. So the idea that I'm giving you this is absolutely ridiculous, but I know the journey because I'm on it. And the factual stuff is not nearly as effective with the real stuff. I see it now every day, And so, and especially about emotional subject, like if the factual stuff doesn't work as well as the real stuff, when I'm talking time management in a podcast, man, it's 1,000 times more when you're talking about families and love and loss and pain. And you have to be real because you went through it and you have both sides of the coin. You've got the dirty on the industry and you've got the wartime experience. So talk to me, tell me how, be my Sherpa through this horrible ordeal.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Makes sense.
Yes, it absolutely makes sense. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just agreeing.
Tell me about your my 6-stage plan to be more emotional. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I deal with this a lot with people like you, and these seem to be I work with a lot of really smart, educated, high functioning people. And this is one of the things we have to do. We have to chip away. Just think of like a big clump of something, you know, they have these things with kids with sand, and you chip away and you get a little dinosaur inside. You know, we got to see the dinosaur.
Yeah. Yep. I need to peel off my layers for sure.
Yeah.
And it's always way more effective when I'm me, and I have more fun too. So I just need to.
And it's
I
safer.
love doing the videos because I love video anyway. So.
Yeah, and I do apologize because there's a lag. So many times it looks like you're done, and I go to speak, and it looks like I'm talking over you. It's because on my end your video has stopped. But it's I forgot what I was gonna say. That cold's still in there. Anyhow, talk for a second, it'll come back to me.
So totally side note, microphones.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations that aren't like $130, or is that just standard what you're pay for a good
No,
microphone?
you don't need a microphone. I got this for the podcast, so that's different.
But I'm going to be doing podcasts more.
Right, but I was still I don't know why I got this, which it must have been just the destiny, because really when I was being interviewed in podcasts, my God, I had something profound to say to you, and I really would like to remember what it was. What were we talking about? Hold on, before we said that, and then I said
we were talking about me being me and how it's more enjoyable as well when I'm me and connecting.
Oh, I know, for me, now I remember it. It's very easy to get lost in the busyness of the work. And that was one of the problems. I did not sustain business relationships as well as I could have. And that's what's happened now with this podcast, is I have done that in the last year. Whereas before I had really good contacts, and they'd say something, yeah, we should connect, or we'll go to lunch, and say, yeah, sure. But I really didn't want to. I want to have done it, but I'd rather be working. I always would rather be working. So my mind would be like, oh no, I have to get this done. I have to get that done. So I always hid behind the work, and I didn't do the socializing, because I think, well, what's the point of going to that lunch with that contact? Because I'm not going to work with him right now. He's not working with me. Like, there was no purpose. Everything is purpose driven, right? And John was always on me about that. It's a relationship. Look how much work I can get done if I don't go to that. Unless there was a precise formula for the interaction, I would not go. And now I've had to learn, the biggest thing I've done in the last 6 months, putting myself out there, is building relationships with people. I did not see that as purposeful or functional before. And not in a cold way, just in a temporary, today I want to get this done, I will bond with you next week way. And then next week never happens. So for me, I hid behind the work. And I did that even when I would market other clients. I would market their stuff, but I wouldn't let people know what clients I was working on, whatever. I don't know. I was just always hiding behind the work. And it's really easy to get behind a computer and make yourself busy and hide behind the work. So be mindful of that too, when you're trying to get it perfect to get it out there, and you're hiding behind the work.
Which is my MO.
I've been there.
So I hate small talk, and I hate elevators.
I do.
Oh, I fucking hate elevators. Because I don't like small talk. If I'm going to have a connection with you, I have amazing connections with people, but I hate the small talk. I hate gossip. And I feel like whenever you get into that, then people start gossiping, and I'm like, I like real connection. So I have a hard time nurturing anything if I don't see the real outcome in it. So like, you are speaking literally everything about me, my entire life. Essentially, this has been me, where if there's not a true outcome, then what's the fucking purpose of it?
And I had to, even with my sales calls, I have to write at the top a few warming questions, because I want to dive right in. So I had to write in there, oh, where are you calling from? Oh, boom, boom, boom. So when you ask me, I have to make sure I hit those, because I dive right in, and and it's not a relationship. I'm like, okay, you're here to learn about this. Let me boom. Right. But I've had to learn, okay, here's 4 warm questions I have to ask. Cause I'm not about small talk. I will pay the hairdresser extra if she doesn't ask me what I'm doing for the weekend. Like I will talk to you all day long if we have stuff to talk about, but don't ask me filler friggin' questions that you're just asking. Right. So then I would pull away, and I think I would rather work for 2 hours than have small talk for 5 minutes. So you're hiding behind the work, and it affects the work. Because then you're not out and you're not hearing the people, you're not getting new content. And I did it all. So I know what you're talking about. So let that resonate in. And I'm glad that I suffered, because I have somebody to give it to.
Well, because I look at people's stories, right? And stories are usually about what you're doing. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm sitting in a computer all day, every day.
I know.
Or I'm with my daughter, which I can't post pictures of me with my daughter. So I have been trying to figure out, like, how can I network better? And I am doing collaborations, but it's all virtual, right? So it's like, I don't have anything to be like, this is what I'm doing. And so anyhow.
But that's still showing. And I did the same thing. And then I had this one business buddy, and she would say, let's connect once a month virtually, because she's somewhere. And I'd be like, okay. And then every month I think, oh, if she cancels, I won't cancel. But if she is busy today, I'm totally fine with it. And she kept the appointment every month, damn it. And it really changed. And a lot of good came out of that relationship. And I think, oh my God, I don't have anything to say to her today. We'll just chit chat. And sometimes they say, well, we can meet. I don't have anything to say. Okay, we'll chit chat. All right. I don't have an agenda. I would really like an agenda for this bonding. So it was really painful for me. But I did see a lot came out of it. So the structured and the thinking and the working, you have to have somebody to work with. In order for them to work with you, you have to be known, liked, and trust. And you have to get out from behind the desk, and you have to talk to people and record your videos and all that other stuff. So I wanted to call you out on that, because I did it for years, and I would have been a completely different person if I'd let that go earlier.
Yes. I'm glad for you bringing it up again. I'd worked really hard at that in corporate America, but I haven't, until you just said this, it wasn't as like smack in my face that's what I'm doing now. It kind of would come up, and then I'd be like, no, I'm not, I'm doing this, this, and this, making excuses of what I am doing. And
I'm working here, people. I'm working. It's not like I'm not doing anything. I would love to bond with you, but I have stuff to do. So the problem is you buy into your false stories because they're really good. I am working, John. I'm not taking lunch off to go bond with somebody, and I don't even have a purpose to meet with them. I'm working. I'm getting stuff done. Like, how can you argue with that?
Yep. And I need to get stuff done.
But now by leveraging, by reaching out to these guys and asking to be on the podcast, because I sent them good videos months ago. I connected with them on Facebook. I warmed up the relationship. I mean, I got people I would have never got. And it's accelerating my business so much faster, and I wouldn't have had time for them before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Oh, 100%.
So microphones. I don't know why I got this big expensive microphone. I don't know what happened. The universe just sent it to me. And then when I was doing guest spots, people all thought I had my own podcast because I had this big expensive microphone, which, by the way, this microphone is not $100. So you don't want that part. This is not a $100 microphone. But what I would say to you is, you could start off with, it's not about the microphone. I would go to earbuds first, like just even cheap Apple ones that you plug in, the $30 ones. Start there, because it does cut out the noise, and then they can hear you. And sometimes this is enough of a microphone for where you are, because you're in a good environment. I think there's just something wrong with your external speaker on your computer. But if you plug it in, then the external speaker is eliminated. So yeah, right now you don't know what you're doing. So I would just go for earbuds.
Okay. And then I have a good mic for recording. That's what I used on my Loom video that I sent you.
Oh, right.
So I actually have like a that I use that for.
Well, then why are you not using that one then?
Because I can't hear. It's only like I have to plug it in, and then I can't hear anything on my computer. It's just for like recording, I guess. Or maybe I don't know what I'm doing with it.
I think you don't know what you're doing. What's happening is, and Evan can help you with that. I believe you've set up your microphone, you've plugged it in. So every computer has output and input. So you've changed the output, and you haven't changed the input, but you haven't changed the output. So you should be able to go up to your settings. Is it a Mac?
I have a Mac, but I generally use my Microsoft.
Okay, so you have on your sounds output input. So
Okay.
whichever computer you're on, go into that, because the microphone should not dispel the sound. It's just you
Got
haven't
it.
changed
Okay.
the settings. Once you plug the microphone in, you change the dynamics and you didn't compensate for it.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for that tip.
And the loom, I didn't even get a chance to look at that because she sent that to me Friday night, and then I've been in meetings all morning. But you did ask me, I did see quickly, you did, holy Christmas. I'm not going to go back in there. There's too many emails. You did ask, how do I show that thing? You said, how do I do the preview?
Oh, you just had that on there.
Yeah, that's a different program. That's a totally different program that I'm using. It's called BombBomb.
Yep. All right.
And what?
I know BombBomb.
Yeah. And the problem too with BombBomb, which I do use it for, I would also check my speed of my internet, because you're a constant delay. So I think it might be your internet speed. Like you might have to pay an extra $15 a month to change the speed on your internet, which would definitely affect a podcast. Like I couldn't have you on a podcast with this speed, because constantly when I see you, you look like you're done talking, then I talk and then it kicks in. So there's a delay. So check out the speed. BombBomb I use because of marketing, and it's really helpful. The problem with BombBomb is it tracks the good thing about BombBomb is it tracks who opened and has played your stuff, but Loom does that as well. But when you switch to BombBomb, you can't use Loom because they compete with each other. So because I'm reaching out to podcasts and doing very specific marketing, it's worth my while to do that. But I don't think you want the nuisance of having BombBomb at this point. Aside from the fee, there's more.
30 days. My previous coach loved BombBomb, and it's expensive for me right now too. An additional $50 a month is like,
yeah,
I need a few more things.
You don't need it right now.
Okay, I just wondered if it was BombBomb. So I was hoping maybe there was another platform that did that cool video, but all right. And then next week we won't be talking, so I'll be doing all of this homework.
Yes. So,
but
don't be so don't be afraid. You can send me stuff, but here's the thing, and I'm just gonna be honest, where I worry about you a little bit is I'm okay. I will be on the road. I will check if you're really stuck or you have an emergency. I can send you a video, but it will be hectic because I've got this big speaking gig. I've got a photo shoot. I've got all this kind of stuff. If you're stuck, do reach out to me. However, get stuck quickly. What I mean by that is don't write this big long thing, and then if I send you a video back, my concern would be I would be throwing information at you and we wouldn't be processing it together. So I don't want you to dive in and pull a Jackie and then write this big long academic thesis and say I'm kind of stuck down here, and then it's going to put me in a spot where if I have to shoot a video, it's going to be me throwing these things out here, but you'll start arguing in your head why these don't work, because I think you really do need a conversation. So if you get stuck quickly so that I can redirect you before you have this big buildup of a dam of stuff.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if that's you got me, you call my number face, or she's now starting to annoy you.
No, that is you know me really well, and so
yeah.
I have some idiosyncrasies I'm aware of, which is why I need coaches.
Yeah. So I think you have a lot to work on, and I would just stop thinking and start talking and video, play it back, just talk. Think about different things you went through, different experiences, tell different stories, and that will help. So what's going to happen, it's a little bit like therapy. Let's say you told a story and you do a video for yourself about something, how you felt. And then it's still, the first time you do it, it's still going to be very academic. And you might need to retell the same story 5 times before you get down to a real conversation and boil it down and get to the goods.
Okay.
Right? Because you've been doing this all your life, but also your strength is your weakness. So you're a smart person that gets stuff done. And so that's not a bad thing. We just have to make it work here. But you have to have different tools in your arsenal. That's all. So this is a great tool. And it's gotten you really far. It's not a problem, but now we need a different tool, right?
Yes.
It's like you've got a spray paint for spraying painting the side of the house, and it's awesome, but it's not working for a little piece of furniture. You just got paint everywhere, right? So it was awesome when you got stuff done, but now we're like, could you just paint this little stool and right?
Okay.
So it's not a bad thing. It's just a new skill.
Yes, I love that.
Right?
I just need to learn it. So
yeah. So, okay. So when I'll be gone next week. And so then we are back to, why does this keep happening with you? I don't know. What was your, oh, when you were in a different time zone now, Jackie, yes, we are back to
Yeah, we've had it scheduled.
10 a.m. Mountain Time, which is 3 hours earlier. Right now it's 10 a.m. there, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's good. So for the 20th, you're set up.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. You're doing awesome. Keep up the good work and all that stuff.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good trip.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.